She's watching you, she thinks about you, but she will never reach out. And the reason why will shake you to your core. Men expect symmetry in love. Give, receive, respond. But what you're feeling now isn't symmetry, it's strategy. Silence paired with attention. The quiet view, the late-night scroll, the replayed memory. Signals that look like love, but behave like leverage. You keep asking if she still watches. Does she still care? That question is the trap. Attention is a currency. Silence is how it's spent. And the longer you decode shadows, the further you drift from your own center. If you're done guessing and ready for truth, like and subscribe to Stoic Station. Start this journey now. Drop a 1 if you've chased with emotion, or a 2 if you've learned to hold your line. I read every comment, because here's the shift that frees you. Her eyes don't equal her effort, and your worth never hangs on a screen view. When you stop feeding the story and reclaim your attention, the spell breaks. Not over her, over you. Keep watching. In a moment, we'll open the first door, and you'll see why the quiet view feels louder than any word, and how to take your power back without sending a single message. Let's dive in. 1. Hooked on watching. You've seen it before. The silent view, the shadow in your notifications, the ghost that lingers without a word. She never calls, she never texts, but she's always there, watching. And in the stillness of those moments, you can't help but ask yourself, if she's still watching, does that mean she still cares? That question alone has the power to haunt you, because silence, when paired with attention, feels louder than any spoken word. The pain doesn't come from what she says, it comes from what she withholds. You're trapped in confusion, suspended in a limbo where her silence becomes a prison. Each time you see her name pop up among your story views, each like she leaves on your old pictures, you tell yourself it must be a hidden signal, a secret message that she still feels something. But those small gestures only tighten the chains. They keep you stuck, waiting for meaning in shadows that were never meant to hold the weight of truth. Picture her late at night, scrolling through your life like a spectator in a theater she once belonged to. She stares at your pictures, replays old memories, but never types a single word. It's not because she wants you back. It's because she wants the comfort of knowing she hasn't vanished completely from your mind. Her silence is not about love. It's about validation. Men often assume that if she's watching, it must mean she regrets leaving. But the truth is far more sobering. Women often watch because they need to confirm they still matter, even in the smallest way, even in the shadows. And that realization cuts deeper than any harsh goodbye, because her silence begins to control you more than her presence ever did. You find yourself restless, lying awake, asking the same poisonous question. If she's always watching, why won't she reach out? That question eats away at your confidence. It steals your energy. It keeps you chained to the illusion that her eyes on your life are proof of her desire. But it isn't desire. It's her way of holding ground without risking vulnerability. Here lies the brutal test. She won't risk rejection. She won't risk looking weak. If she wanted to speak, she already would have. What she wants is the illusion of connection, not the reality of it. And the more you cling to the illusion, the more you surrender your power. Because every time you search for hidden meaning in passive observation, you hand her control over your attention. And attention, for a man, is life itself. Here's the Stoic truth. Her watching means nothing if it doesn't come with action. Stop feeding the story you've written in your head. Stop treating her silence as a puzzle to be solved. Begin practicing silence journaling. Each time you feel the urge to check her story, write it down. Name the craving. Look at it as an outsider would. Let the wave pass instead of drowning in it. That single act builds awareness. and awareness is the first step in reclaiming your power. Think of it this way: when you stop watching her back, her silent strategy collapses, not because she suddenly loses interest, but because you've broken the cycle. You've reclaimed your attention, redirected it from her shadow to your own growth. And once your attention belongs to you again, you step outside the cage. Attention is everything. It is the currency of life, the force that shapes your destiny. And when you stop investing it in someone who gives nothing in return, you rise above the illusion. She may still watch, she may still linger. But the moment you stop needing her gaze, you break free. And freedom, for a Stoic, is the ultimate victory. So the next time her silent presence appears, ask yourself this: will I let her watching dictate my worth, or will I take back what was always mine? The moment you choose the second path is the moment you stop living in her silence and start living in your own strength. 2. Control over connection. She doesn't fear losing you. She fears losing her grip on you. That's the part most men never see clearly, because they confuse her silence with heartbreak. They assume that if she's not speaking, she must be hurting, quietly wishing she hadn't walked away. But the truth is harsher. Silence is often not sadness, it's strategy. And the question she repeats to herself isn't, "Do I still love him?" It's, "Does he still need me?" Relationships rarely collapse all at once. They unravel slowly, like a thread being tugged again and again until the whole fabric comes apart. A woman doesn't usually cut ties in one dramatic motion. Instead, she detaches in stages. First, she grows distant. Then she starts testing. She pulls back to see if you'll chase. She withholds affection to see if you'll panic. And the moment you beg, plead, or collapse under the pressure, she knows she still has command of your emotions. Even when she eventually leaves, she leaves with the belief that a single gesture, a single breadcrumb, is all it would take to pull you back into orbit. That's why she won't reach out first. Contact would expose her vulnerability. It would mean admitting she's uncertain, that she may have miscalculated. Silence, on the other hand, allows her to maintain the illusion of power. She can vanish from your life while still watching, still testing, still holding the belief that you're emotionally anchored to her absence. It's not about missing you, it's about controlling you. And here's the sting: the longer you wait, the stronger her illusion becomes. The more time passes without your independence shining through, the more convinced she becomes that she still occupies prime real estate in your mind. She expects you to stalk her page, to wonder about her nights, to replay your memories as though they were her safety net. She counts on you still being hooked, because that belief allows her to sit comfortably on the throne of control. As long as she thinks you're waiting, she has no reason to step forward. But this is where the Stoic truth cuts through the fog. You cannot win by trying to outplay her games. You cannot break the grip by reacting in anger, or by chasing her silence with words, explanations, or gestures meant to prove your worth. The only way to sever the invisible string is to reclaim your attention and shift the frame. Start by identifying your triggers. Each time you feel the urge to check her social media or the craving to prove yourself, write it down. Journaling is not weakness, it's awareness. By putting those impulses on paper, you rob them of their hidden power. You begin to see patterns. You notice how often your mind drifts back to her and how little she has to do to keep you emotionally trapped. That awareness is the first blade that cuts her grip. Next, ground yourself in the physical. When your emotions run high, train your body to stay steady. Go to the gym and lift until your focus shifts inward. Step onto a mat and learn martial arts, where discipline teaches you the art of self-control. Or keep it simple, practice controlled breath work. Inhale with discipline, exhale with release, reminding yourself that your inner rhythm is yours to command. Build routines so solid, so untouchable, that her silence can no longer disrupt your balance. Every act of self-control is a rebellion against her hold. Each time you resist the urge to chase, you shift the balance. Each time you choose discipline over reaction, the invisible grip weakens. You stop playing her game and start standing in your own power. And yes, she may still test you. She may post subtle signals crafted to pull you back into the cycle. But the moment you stop reacting, the illusion collapses. The throne of control crumbles beneath her because it was never real. It existed only as long as you kept bowing to it. The truth is simple, but not easy. She does not fear losing a man. She fears losing her grip on a man's emotions. And when you train yourself to be unmoved, when you rise above her silence and stop feeding her illusion, you reclaim the only thing that truly matters, yourself. So let her watch, let her wait, let her wonder. Because the second you stop proving yourself to her, you prove something far greater. You prove that your peace is untouchable. And nothing breaks her illusion faster than a man who no longer needs her to validate his worth. That is where the grip ends. That is where your power begins. And that is when she realizes control was never hers to hold. It was always yours to release. 3. The law of less. The one who cares less always wins. That sentence alone feels unfair, almost cruel. After all, you were taught your whole life that love is proven by effort, by persistence, by devotion. You were told that showing up more, giving more, sacrificing more would guarantee love in return. But in reality, the opposite often happens. The more you show, the less she feels. Women are not moved by endless attention. They are moved by uncertainty, by mystery, by the energy of not fully knowing where they stand with you. Think about it. The men she obsesses over are never the ones who flooded her phone with affection, showered her with endless texts, or waited by the door with every answer ready. No, those men were predictable. They created certainty, and certainty kills desire. The ones who kept her awake at night, the ones she could never quite shake, were the men she couldn't fully pin down. They stirred questions, not certainties. They made her wonder, and wonder is the fuel of attraction. This is where so many men unknowingly sabotage themselves. They believe more effort equals more love, so they pour themselves into her like water into a cup that can never be filled. They double text, they over-explain, they chase closure that doesn't exist. They perform endless emotional labor to keep her interested, and without realizing it, they hand away the very thing that makes them magnetic: mystery. Every act of overgiving tells her the same story. I am predictable, I am safe, I am already yours, and the moment she believes you are already hers, desire begins to wither. Because desire doesn't live in certainty, it lives in contrast. It lives in the tension between presence and absence, between closeness and distance, between what is known and what is left unspoken. When you give everything too soon, when you reveal every thought and chase every silence, you collapse that tension. You make yourself easy to understand, easy to access, easy to hold. And in that ease, attraction quietly dies. The law of less is brutal, but liberating. It teaches that detachment is not cruelty, but discipline, that love cannot be forced by effort, and respect cannot be earned by overexposure. When you care less, when you stop flooding her with your energy, when you stop letting her silence dictate your actions, you create space for mystery again. You stop orbiting her, and you return to your own center of gravity. And a man with his own center is always more powerful than a man spinning in someone else's orbit. So how do you apply this? You stop chasing. You stop over-explaining. You stop trying to convince her with words. Instead, you build a life where her absence barely registers. You invest in pursuits that have nothing to do with her. Join a class, learn a skill, start a project that forces your mind and body to grow. Pour your energy into something that pays dividends back to you, not into someone who gives nothing in return. And then let her see, not through your bragging but through your living, that you are a man whose purpose runs deeper than her silence. This is not about playing games. It's about creating a life that is so rich, so full, that her presence or absence cannot disrupt it. It's about becoming a man whose mission, growth and self-respect come first. That's what women find irresistible. Not neediness, not predictability, not overgiving, but sovereignty. The law of less turns you from a man waiting for her attention into a man who commands respect without ever asking for it. And yes, she may try to test you. She may pull back to see if you'll break. She may throw out breadcrumbs to see if you'll chase. But the moment you refuse, the moment you hold your line, the power dynamic shifts. Suddenly she is the one wondering, not you. Suddenly she is the one unsettled by uncertainty, while you stand grounded in clarity. And that reversal is what reignites her interest, if she ever had genuine interest to begin with. The law of less is not about making her suffer. It's about freeing yourself from suffering. It's about no longer being a man who pours himself empty in search of validation. It's about becoming a man who knows that his value is never measured by someone else's attention. Caring less doesn't mean you are cold. It means you are wise enough to guard your energy, mature enough to give only where it is reciprocated, and strong enough to walk away when it is not. So remember this, the one who cares less always wins, not because love is a competition, but because discipline is more attractive than desperation. The moment you care less than she does, you shift from needy to sovereign, and sovereignty is irresistible. The less you give to her silence, the more you give to your own life. And the man who lives for his mission rather than her attention is the man who always ends up with both, her curiosity and his peace. That's the paradox. When you finally stop proving yourself to her, you prove yourself to the only person who matters, you. And when you do, you'll see what she never expected. That indifference, when rooted in self-respect, is not weakness. It's power. And power is the one thing she can never resist and never control. Fourth, absence. Speaks. Silence isn't weakness. It's the sharpest weapon you hold. That's a hard truth for many men to accept, because you've been conditioned to believe that words will save you. You've been taught that one more text, one more explanation, one more memory shared might repair the cracks. But words rarely heal when emotions are gone. Words become noise when the feelings that once gave them meaning have already faded. And the more you try to speak your way back into her heart, the more you remind her of why she left. What women regret is never tied to the man who lingers, who waits in the background, who continues to make himself available. Regret blooms only in absence. They don't miss you when you're still there, hovering in her inbox, still giving her glimpses of attention she can lean on whenever she needs a boost. They regret when you vanish. They regret when your presence is no longer guaranteed. Only then does the silence begin to echo, and only then does the reality of loss begin to press down on them. But make no mistake, silence is the hardest path you'll ever take. It feels like surrender, like weakness, like a betrayal of your instincts. Your mind screams at you to reach out, to prove your side of the story, to fix what was broken with explanations or reassurances. You want closure, you want clarity, you want to feel like you did everything possible, and so you convince yourself that silence is avoidance, that it's cowardice, that it makes you look like you never cared. But that's a lie your emotions tell you in the heat of desperation. Silence isn't surrender. It's strength under pressure. It's choosing restraint when every part of you aches to react. It's refusing to bleed out your power just to soothe a wound that will never heal through words. And here's the irony that cuts to the core. The very silence you fear is the silence that drives her mad. Because when you say nothing, you force her to sit alone with her thoughts. She can watch, but she no longer knows. She can scroll through your page and search for answers, but there are no clues left behind. She can replay old memories in her mind, but they give her no clarity, only questions. And it's in those unanswered questions that uncertainty begins to corrode her comfort. That's when regret begins to creep in. Not when you're proving your side, not when you're pleading, but when you vanish into absence and leave her mind to do the work for you. But you won't survive this path if you don't anchor yourself. Silence must be practiced, not improvised. This is where Stoicism becomes more than philosophy. It becomes survival. Set daily limits for yourself. No checking her page, no drafting messages you'll never send. When the urge rises, redirect it. Sit in meditation and breathe through the craving. Or open a journal and ask yourself simple questions. What do I gain by saying nothing? What do I lose by speaking? Write your answers honestly. In those pages, you'll begin to see what silence really is. Not avoidance, but clarity. Not fear, but power. At first, holding the line will feel unnatural, even unbearable. You'll fidget, overthink, and second-guess yourself. You'll wonder if you're missing the one chance to change everything. But that discomfort is the very point. Discipline is forged in discomfort. You are training your emotions to obey you, not the other way around. With each day you hold your silence, it becomes easier. With each temptation resisted, you build strength. Soon, silence will not be a punishment, it will be your natural state. And when that shift happens, something powerful occurs. Absence begins to speak louder than presence ever could. She starts to wrestle with doubt. She wonders if she misjudged you, if she underestimated your strength, if she overplayed her hand. She replays your time together with new eyes, this time not from a place of comfort, but from a place of uncertainty. And that uncertainty haunts her far more than any carefully crafted message ever could. Absence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It creates a void where illusions die and truth is revealed. It forces her to face the reality that you no longer orbit around her, that your life is moving forward without her knowledge or control. And in that void, you discover something even greater. You discover the freedom no words could ever buy. Freedom from the need to explain yourself. Freedom from the trap of chasing closure. Freedom from the illusion that your value must be spoken to be seen. So let silence speak for you. Let absence become your answer, because in the stillness she will wrestle with doubt, and in the stillness you will find your strength. And here's the viral truth you need to hold on to. Nothing shakes her world more than realizing the man she thought she understood has become a mystery again. Nothing rattles her more than the silence of a man who no longer needs to say a single word. 5. Actions over illusions. If she truly wanted you, you wouldn't have to guess. That's the bitter truth most men refuse to face. Instead, you sit there replaying every view, every like, every half-hearted breadcrumb as though it were a secret signal of her longing. You tell yourself she must be waiting for the right moment, that her silence hides a deeper feeling she's too proud to admit. But the reality is simpler and harsher. If she wanted to be in your life, she'd already be there. The cruelest trap a man can fall into is mistaking illusions for intent. You confuse her silence with struggle, as if she's torn up about reaching out. You imagine her hovering over her phone, typing and deleting messages, paralyzed by fear. But women who truly value you don't linger in the shadows. They act, they text, they call, they make their presence known. Anything less than that is not priority, it's convenience. And when you hold on to those illusions, you trap yourself in a story where you're always waiting and she's always in control. Think about it. A woman who truly wants a man doesn't hesitate. She doesn't rely on subtle signals or hidden posts. She doesn't leave things open-ended, hoping he'll do the work of decoding her silence. She creates clarity through action. She chooses him, and she makes sure he knows. But if she's watching from the sidelines, posting pictures meant to provoke, and doing everything except reaching out, it isn't love. It's leverage. She's keeping the door cracked, not to walk through, but to make sure you never truly close it. And that's where so many men waste months, even years, decoding, waiting, overanalyzing. Every story view becomes proof she still cares. Every silence becomes a puzzle to be solved. Meanwhile, life passes by, opportunities are missed, growth is stalled. And all for what? For the illusion that her inaction still means something. This is where the Stoic truth slices through the fog. Judge by actions, not illusions. Don't let her silence become your prison. If she doesn't step forward, she's not meant to walk beside you. That doesn't mean you harden your heart or carry bitterness. It means you accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. It means you stop feeding energy to what isn't reciprocated and redirect it to what is certain. Your mission, your growth, your life. You want clarity? Here it is. If she wanted you, she would be there, calling, texting, showing up. Her silence isn't a mystery, it's an answer. And the man who understands this no longer wastes his strength chasing ghosts. He builds his empire. He strengthens his body. He deepens his discipline. He stops waiting for a sign and becomes the sign. A man so grounded in his purpose that her silence no longer has the power to shake him. So stop analyzing shadows. Stop searching for hidden meaning in things that mean nothing. The only message that matters is the one she never sent. And here's the final twist. The moment you stop waiting for her action is the moment you take your own. And that action, that forward motion, is what separates the men who waste years in limbo from the men who rise. Actions over illusions. That's the law. And the man who lives by it never loses himself again. In the end, her silence isn't your prison. It's your path. Every story view, every unspoken word, every test of patience is an invitation to turn inward. The world taught you to measure your worth through her reactions, but Stoicism teaches you something higher. Your peace is never hers to give or take. You see, the real victory isn't making her panic. It isn't waiting for her regret. It isn't even proving that you moved on faster. The real victory is becoming the man who no longer needs her silence to define him. The man who rises in discipline, builds his mission, and stands calm in the storm. Practice this daily. Journal your cravings. Train your body with consistency. Embrace silence as strength. And let her absence remind you of what cannot be taken, your control over yourself. Because the truth is timeless. No woman regrets losing a man as deeply as when he no longer needs her return to feel complete. But by then, you won't be waiting. You'll already be free. And freedom, that calm, untouchable freedom, is the Stoic victory that no silence can ever steal. If these truths spoke to you, don't just sit in silence, act on them. Like this video so more men walking this path can find it. Subscribe to Stoic Station, your daily reminder of strength, stillness, and self-mastery. And in the comments, anchor your mindset with one line. Silence is my power. Because when you claim that, you stop chasing ghosts, and you start living as the man no silence can break.